Gloucester.
Sale back in the game. And Gloucester in again.
Worcester on the board.
Quins have a third triumph. What a start from Bristol.
Fabulous rugby from Exeter.
In the corner for DMP.
It's lightning with the ball. Utterly brilliant from Scarratt.
Hello and a very warm welcome to all in. My name is Ashleigh Wilmot and it is a pleasure to be here with you today. Now, no doubt, it has definitely been the most competitive Allianz Premier 15s season we've had, and it's official, we're going to have a new name on the trophy. Is it going to be Gloucester-Hartpury or is it going to be Exeter Chiefs? Well, only time will tell, and I'm delighted to be joined today by two of the most loved and most respected players, England and Loughborough Lightning's Emily Scarratt and former England and London Irish's Topsy Ojo. Hi guys, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Nice to be back and nice to have you guys here as well. I mean, I can say we've upgraded, can't I? Yes.
We won't like that. It's nice to have one of the originals in the chair today. So Topsy, you can show us the ropes. Now, as I just mentioned, we've had a fantastic season so far. So what is your top line? What's your headline?
I think for me it's like a season of the changing of the guard. We're so used to seeing Harlequins, Saracens on that trophy or in that final, and this year it's not going to be the case. Quins didn't even make the top four. Saracens have obviously just lost in the semi-final, so really excited to see a new name on that trophy.
Yeah, it will be good, won't it, Topsy?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that piece, you know, if you think about the players coming through as well, you know, you have Sarah Hunter retiring, you've got Marley Packer picking up those reins, and you've got Sadia Kabir as a future star coming through. So that's been a huge story. And if you think about everything that's happened this season, you know, you think about record crowds at the World Cup final, record crowds at the club game, big game 14, record here attendance, 60,000 here for England-France Grand Slam decider. So that piece has been huge. Broadcast has been huge as well, you know, numbers going through the roof. So in terms of enjoying a season and everything that's been and gone, it's been great. And like I said, we've got a huge final to look forward to as well.
Yes, not long to wait now, and loads to look forward to on the show today. England and Gloucester-Hartpury prop Muir spills all the beans on our housemates, who are also her teammates. We hear from the Exeter prop Georgie Grimes, who's been working hard on the pitch. And Emily is going to be joining Ross Hamilton as they give us their expert analysis and insight ahead of this year's final. This season has been so entertaining and so full of drama and ups and downs, just like we love in rugby. But unfortunately, Emily, you have been on the sidelines for quite a lot of it. So what have you made of it all?
Yeah, obviously for me personally, it's been a bit of a tough season. Came off the back of obviously coming back from the World Cup, which was an unbelievable experience. And then have unfortunately been sidelined pretty much ever since. So it's probably the closest I'm going to get to this trophy for a little while. But yeah, Loughborough, obviously we've had a bit of a tough season. It's not gone the way we wanted, but I think we're all pretty excited to build into kind of the next round of the Prem season.
And in terms of your top moments, you know, you've been watching a lot of it from the sidelines. So have you got a top moment from the season?
Yeah, I think we've been blessed with loads this season. But I think for me, it's that Wasps' last game at Twyford Avenue. They've been part of the top flight for 37 years. And unfortunately, we won't see them next year. Really tough year for the whole club and many other clubs in the Premiership. But there was just that one moment where they're probing away in the 22 right at the end of the game, and then Lewis manages to score outside on the edge, and I just thought at the end of their very last game that was a really fitting moment. The crowd was awesome. I know loads of old Waspy girls were either present or came down from their games afterwards to kind of take part in all of those celebrations.
Yeah, it was a hugely emotional day. I mean, you could see the outpouring. Mine is very similar. It's Susie Appleby celebrating the last-minute try that got Exeter into the final. Coaches go through it. They really go through it, and you can see holding it in, and then just in that moment, it just all came flooding out. I mean, we spoke to her after the game, like just exhausted, like head to toe exhausted, like drained. But it's a moment, and coaches, they need that as well. They put as much into it as the players do. So yeah, very, very happy for Susie in that moment. Quick shout out to Cat Merchant as well, saving lives. Lauren Smith owes her a couple of drinks for stopping that ball from smacking her right in the middle of a broadcast. Hazardous job. Very
but
hazardous.
She did it so smoothly, didn't
Very
she?
smooth, very nonchalant, just out the way, we've got work to do. So what about you, Ash? You've been sidelined a lot of the season. What has been your top moment?
Oh, there's just been so many. There's too many to mention, but one moment that sticks out in my mind is a player that I love to watch, Leanne Infante, and she had an amazing conversion charge down, and I just love it when those things like pay off. off. Like, she's always eyeing up the opposition. Emily, you must have been in a few situations like that where you've got to be quick off the mark.
Yeah, and you're always trying to get through your kicking process before that happens, because as a kicker, it's quite an embarrassing thing if you get charged down from a goal kick. So yeah, and I think Rocky Clark was the one that started it all, wasn't she? So I think whenever anybody does it now, she claims that.
Right, let's take a look back at how Gloucester-Hartpury and Exeter Chiefs secured their spot in the final.
We're down to the final four in the Allianz Premier 15s. Table toppers Gloucester-Hartpury welcoming neighbours Bristol Bears for this West Country derby. In the wide channel to Sarah Beckett. She spotted a gap, looking to try and find a flyer. Venner back to Beckett. The 1-2 combination. Sarah Beckett rewards Gloucester-Hartpury's early defensive effort. Still at the back with Davis though. Momentum behind this one from Lark Davis to the right again. A second try for Lark Davis. A second try for the Bears. Hand. Hunt. Hurd. Drive for Gloucester-Hartpury. Tapped in. Booted by Sarah Beckett. Gloucester-Hartpury, the league leaders this season, are through to the Premier 15s final.
It's a repeat of last year's final. The talking all done. Exeter hoping to beat Saracens in knockout rugby. Are known to be so ruthless. Bottom in this time. Will score. Saracens get themselves on the board. Fante. Breach. Popping it back inside for Clapp. Clapp still going. Support on the right from McKenna. It's a second for Saris. Position, McGovern, they've got numbers on the right if they can make it work, and Zachary knows she needs to straighten, knows she'll find the gap, and Zachary on the board in the second half. Daterson is looking for the crossfield kick for the winger. Oh, it's super! Bit more width on it again. They look to find it wider, stepping back in, and Exeter Chiefs will score! Which she does. McGovern clears the ball into the stands. It's a second final for Exeter Chiefs. It confirms there will be a new name on the Allianz Premier 15s trophy.
This Saturday's final is going to be a tasty affair. We know we're going to have a brand new Allianz Premier 15s champion. It is so exciting. But right now, let's hear from Gloucester-Hartpury's Muir. She's been a rock in the scrum for both club and country, and she's got lots of different sides to her that you might not know about.
Obviously rugby is a big part of my life.
Muir takes two to stop it.
Do some coaching as well, which is a huge part of my week. It's very niche, but I like pottery painting. So we went the other week with the girls as a little group social and painted some pottery. I've got a whole fruit range, so maybe once I finish rugby, I'll go into fruit pottery making. I like to film quite a lot of clips, like through camps and stuff. I would film little clips, and I have been editing them. I just love looking back on it, and that's the same with photography. Like, I really like taking pictures and being able to look back on them, and I kind of have made some scrapbooks as well, which has been really nice. My two lovely flatmates, they are great people as well as rugby players. So I live with Sam Monaghan, who is an Irish second row, and then I also live with Elizabeth Golden, who is a Kiwi fly half. Sam is great, she's doing a lot of DIY at the minute, like putting up blinds. She did this room, she sanded and varnished her floor, which took over a week, and she had to plaster it all. I would say that Sam is a mixologist or a cocktail maker. She loves making a little espresso martini, which we all like to enjoy, in moderation, of course. Lizzie likes to work. Well, I don't think she does like to work. She likes to pretend she's working. No, she does actually work really hard. She has an England job and a New Zealand job. being a lawyer, long hours as in into the night because she is working in her New Zealand time zone. Lizzie also loves to cook. If anyone's cooking us a meal, it will be Lizzie. Like, we all go round to each other's houses. Lizzie's normally the main chef. The rest of us will be like sous chefs / clearing up duties. And then she also loves a scampi fry. Not only have we got like us three as a great household, we also have 3 amazing neighbours. We are yet to do it, but we are really excited to start an Instagram account between our 2 houses. We haven't really thought too much about it, but it'll just be a little private, funny account where we can post a bit about what we're doing. Tuk Tuk, I think, was brought over from France. It's just slowly trickled the way through, and most Prem clubs probably know Tuk Tuk. But it's a bit like frustration, like it's hard to explain, but the aim is to get round the whole board. You also try and kill each other with little counters. You use a pack of cards to play, and the different cards mean different things. So Lizzie made the Toy Story board just before Christmas, I think she finished it off.
The most cutthroat player is definitely Mo. She's pretty savage, she loves killing people.
Serious?
And she takes no mercy, so it's it's always interesting playing with her.
Key reason why I moved to the club was their off-field stuff, like the culture within Gloucester from an outside perspective, just so close-knit, and that really appealed to me. Coming in definitely is exactly the same, like the culture is so good. And I do think when you've got such a great relationship off the pitch, it does reflect onto the pitch, and you can see that in our performances week in, week out. We haven't spoken about it too much, but we want to win the Prem. I think it will just change a lot of people's perceptions of the game in Gloucester, and hopefully the Gloucester fans are great and will always get down to the men's games. I think it will just bring in a whole heap of new spectators to the women's game, which is really exciting in Gloucester. But also it will just be good for the whole game. It won't be a Sarries or Harlequins win, hopefully. So it will just show the world that it's not just those London clubs that can win.
I would absolutely love to live in that house. It just seems so much fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's fun and carnage, I think, in equal measure. But yeah, they're such a great group, and Maud herself is an unbelievable person. She's such a great character, as well as being obviously a phenomenal rugby player. Loves her pottery.
Have you ever made pottery with her, Scaz?
I've never made pottery with her, but I was lucky enough to see her cupboards and drink out of one of her homemade pottery cups the other day. You know those houses you go into and nothing matches? That's her, because obviously she's making everything completely uniquely. But what a brilliant character. Clumsy as anything, will trip over something that's not there, but I think she's got an incredibly bright future ahead of her.
She also mentioned about, the culture at the club. That was one reason why she wanted to join. Topsy, how important is that, and how attractive does that need to be for a player?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's one of the key things you'd look at any club. How you guys build relationships off the pitch is almost as important, because it means that you take that onto the pitch as well, and it means that when you're playing and you're training, kind of those combinations, they're almost like they're just natural. They're seamless because of the relationship you have off the pitch. So situations like that are brilliant. Reminds me of living in the academy houses. You have all the boys in there together, and those are the times you remember. And she'll have that forever. All the girls will have that. You steal stuff from each other's rooms, you borrow each other's stuff goes missing. But when you go on the pitch and you're laughing and you're having a good time, it comes from that. So it's really good to see.
I think as well, because it's now our work, isn't it? It's our job. You really want to go somewhere that you enjoy being, around people that you enjoy being. And as Topsy says, that then inevitably translates onto the field.
Yeah, indeed. Now let's turn our attention to the final. Gloucester-Hartpury against Exeter Chiefs. It's Gloucester-Hartpury's first ever final, Exeter Chiefs second. Topsy, what are you expecting? Yeah,
it's going to be fireworks for sure. Nice little West Country derby for the final. Interestingly, both teams looked quite cagey in their semi-finals. Don't know if it was nerves, what they did in the week building up to the game, but I would say the onus on this one is for Gloucester-Hartpury as the home team at Kingsholm, where hopefully we'll have another record crowd, hitting the ground running. Fast pace, fast tempo, because they know they're going to need to score points. Exeter are the best scoring team in the league. They've got the best defence as well. So you need to get out to a fast start, get the crowd behind you and use that momentum. They'll need to kick well tactically, do what Saracens did and put pressure on them as well. And they'll need their internationals to step up. We've got some incredible matchup. We're just talking about Muir. Exeter have Hope Rogers in the other opposite number 1 jersey, so that's a fascinating matchup as well. You look at Gloucester-Hartpury's pack, where they've really strengthened. Sarah Beckett was phenomenal in the semi-final. She was great. Alex Matthews, like, they've got rock stars everywhere, and we've not mentioned the missing Mo Hunt, who might sometimes sit in this chair. So matchups everywhere. I think it's going to be cagey. I think Exeter will fully believe that this is their time. Like, in a short space of time, everything that they've done, it's almost like this is their moment, and to go into hostile territory and win it would almost make it even sweeter. So yeah, expect a fast start from Gloucester, Exeter to work their way into it, and then we'll see who ends up making the adjustments at half-time and going on to win it.
Oh, I'm getting excited listening to you.
There you go.
Topsy.
You're welcome.
And we know it's also going to be a real physical affair as well.
Yeah, it is. Topsy's mentioned some of the phenomenal ball carriers that both sides have. We've not touched on Zoe Aldcroft. We've not touched on a load of the other phenomenal international and non-international players that both sides have. And one of the biggest things that both of them possess is that gain line momentum, the dominant collisions that they both win. So actually, when you're meeting fire with fire, we could be in for some real physical, tough battles out there.
And you've both been in these situations where you're building up to these big, momentous games. You know, what will the players have been doing in the build-up to this one, Topsy?
Yeah, well, these last few days are like really crucial. You're trying to balance the emotions of, you know, this big game is coming, but actually you need to be very calm when you're in it. Like, in that fire, you need to be able to cool head, make decisions. So it'll be talking a lot about processes. Yes, they'll want to make the week special. There might be some guest speakers in and some former players to come and talk about what it is to play in this big game. But ultimately, it's a week to enjoy. But it's also a week to remember what you did to get you to this position, and don't lose sight of that. You know, if somebody scores or concedes in the first minute, don't change anything. It doesn't matter. You focus on your process, what you've done, you ride the emotional waves, and you use that to hopefully get you to touching that nice silver trophy over there.
Indeed, and same with you, Emily. You know, you've been in these situations. Do you feel the nerves on the build-up to these occasions?
I think the build-up is very kind of process-driven. It's about doing the analysis on, you know, perhaps the game you've just played, and obviously looking forward to the new opposition, and working through the game plan of what it is you want to implement in it. So the nerves probably temper themselves because it's kind of business in the week. And then as you get closer and closer, you're doing your team run, and then obviously looking ahead to the game actually itself. I'm sure there'll be a lot of nerves on the morning of the game.
I'm already feeling a bit nervous, and we're not even there yet. Now let's turn our attention to Exeter prop Georgie Grimes, who's been a huge part of the squad down at Sandy Park, especially when it comes to keeping the grass green and tidy. Take a look at this.
You don't realise what has to go on behind the scenes for the pitch to be perfect. The question comes up quite a lot whether I'd rather run out of Twickenham or cut it. If I had to choose something, obviously that wouldn't be an easy decision to make. So I grew up in Gibraltar, I was born there. Rugby back there is not very big. The local side was like 20 minutes away across the border into Spain. And I turned 16, and then it became an option whether I stopped playing rugby because travelling to the local women's side was about 2 hours away, or I looked to come over to the UK. Susie came down to Exeter and she got in contact with me and asked if I wanted to come down here and experience something new and have a new challenge. COVID hit, and then it became a realisation, like, I need to actually think, what do I want to do with my life in the bigger picture? Do I actually want to spend 3 years studying at uni when I probably wasn't the most academic person? I took the gamble and come down to Exeter with Susie. Ended up having a lot of free time on my hands because I'd be training 3 times a week, and then you'd have like the rest of the week just twiddling your thumbs at home, I suppose. And then we were sat in the stand and the grounds team at the time were doing stuff on the pitch. And I said to one of the girls, like, that's what I want to do. And then because I said it, I had to do it, and I've enjoyed it since. We're going to prep the pitch to spray some products down, so we tend to measure it out in 4-metre blocks. We tend to normally use a different tape measure, but that broke this morning. Someone went over it with a mower. And we'll get the boom sprayer out and just walk up and down. It tends to be products that's going to help the pitch grow so that it's looking nicer for the weekend. What caught my eye for the job was how different it is to like your regular office job. I'm outside pretty much all the time. When the sun's shining, you're living your best life. We're marking out the pitch, so we're using a laser, make sure the lines are dead straight. So on the laser, you've got like 2 guidelines that you'd match up to your white line. And once they're matched up, hopefully the reflector should also be matched up. So you switch your laser on, and then you're trying to find the reflector with the laser so that that is straight as well. Yeah, the paint's not coming out. It's quite bittersweet, really, playing at like your own pitch that you like prep in that sense. Obviously, the sweet bit is you're getting to run around Sandy Park. But then the bitter bit is that you've prepped it all, you've done all this hard work for one scrum to happen, and it ruins it in that sense, and you're just a bit like, right. And then you go in on like the next day and you have to try and sort that out, even though you know you did that. When we're training, I do tend to say, oh, like, let's move on a bit, this area's getting ruined. We all have a laugh about it.
I don't know if that is actually lined up.
Sometimes they'll give me a bit of stick if the pitch ain't right where they want it to be. Like if the lines aren't marked or something like that, they faded away. I will get a lot of stick for it, and you got to go back the next day and try and paint them. It's quite a common thing, really, with the lines not being as straight as you'd probably want them to be. It's looking pretty white, pretty straight. Probably give it an 8. Cutting it is actually probably one of the funner things. You've got 2 hours kind of to cut it, and you're in your own little world. It'd probably rain if I started singing. The question comes up quite a lot whether I'd rather run out of Twickenham or cut it. If you asked me 18 months ago before I started this, like my job, I probably would have said run out on it, but probably now I'd probably say cut it and actually prep it, because you see what actually has to go onto it, and like the praises it gets when it's at its best. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Ideally, I would want to carry on with the pathway and potentially play for England one day, but obviously understanding that rugby's not going to be there forever, having to have that alternative career. Ideally like to balance in both, as I am now, for the future, and continuing to do that.
Very much an all-in attitude from the young Exeter prop Georgie Grimes. Loving your work there. Now, Emily has just gone to join Ross Hamilton to pick through the detail of where the game could be won and lost at the weekend.
We're back for our second all-in analysis. Now, we've got a bit of a change of personnel here, with Mo doing something slightly more important this weekend, but a very able replacement in Emily Scarratt. Emily, you like a stat, don't you?
I love a stat. Yeah, I absolutely love a stat.
Good, this should be great. So we're going to have a look back to the semi-finals and how it was won and lost, ahead to the final, and then some of the key players involved. Now, we'll start with Gloucester. So for me, Gloucester managed the momentum of the game really well on both sides of the ball, both in attack. They had far superior gain line success to Bristol, much quicker average ruck speed. That difference is a big factor on every single ruck. And then the amount of rucks they had under 3 seconds, that's what we call fast ball that they can play off of the back of. And that then in turn got them into the right areas. 3 times more red zone entries to Bristol, where they're going to have those scoring opportunities.
Yeah, and for me, Gloucester have been incredibly impressive defensively as well. Started off with the territory, so they're able to get themselves deep into the opposition territory. You can see here 59% territory. That's a big chunk of the game that they're spending in good areas of the field. And then defensively, just being able to stop the opposition behind the gain line time after time after time. It's so draining.
One of the big things for this number here is how often Gloucester stopped Bristol getting onto the gain line. It's actually higher than how much Bristol got over the gain line. That is incredibly rare because of how hard it is, and that just shows how solid Gloucester were in defence. But we'll go on to some clips of Gloucester in that semi-final. We'll actually look at their attack. Now, they are so strong on first phase, both from set-piece launch and from transition, but this first one off of a scrum.
Yeah, it's really important just to note how deep this Gloucester attack is. So they're giving themselves loads of space to go and attack this ball. And I think a really clever bit of analysis that they've done in the week is just looking at the disconnect from the flankers that are flying off the scrum and then everybody else that's then leaving. So it's Rachel Lund on this occasion just getting back into that seam and immediately on the front foot, quick ball, and Gloucester are able to play again 10 metres over where they originally started.
Yep, huge. So again, they do this both from launch and from a transition, and this next one is from a restart. So just to show they don't score off of either of these, but just show how threatening they are on both occasions. Now we get to this position where Bristol are chasing up here in a pretty good defensive line. If you're a defensive coach, that's pretty well connected. But it's Delaney Burns here. I'm sorry to pick her out, but it's just a very slight overfold that Tatiana Hurd recognises, cuts back in, and that's the difference. That's all that was needed for Hurd to go through and make their break, and just that's how threatening they can be off first phase.
Yeah, and Tatiana Hurd is brilliant at that. Anytime she gets a little bit of an inside shoulder, she's back off that explosive outside foot, and powering through the tackle. She's so good at it.
Now we're going to look at Exeter. So Exeter in the semi-final. Now they followed their game plan very much to a T. They have a lot of possession time and they get a lot of gain line success, a lot of metres gained from those. But it was actually how efficient they were come the second half. Obviously they're 14-0 down at first half. This one huge. Penalty conceded, just 6. Saracens 3 times more. You think from their point of view that's possibly where that was lost, but it's how efficient Exeter were in the red zone, in the right areas at scoring as well. So the amount of points per entry, which is what red zone efficiency is, far superior to Saracens, and then their success rate. That's how many times you come away with a score of any kind from your entries, nearly double that of Saracens again. So again, second half when they came through, their efficiency was fantastic.
I think one thing as well to note from that game, they took a 3-point opportunity when it was on offer. We don't necessarily see that at all from Saracens in that game. They ended up winning the game by 3 points, and it just kept the scoreboard ticking over and obviously helped towards that stat.
And we talked about this sort of coming to the second half. So again, we've got a clip of this of Kay Zachary's try straight from the restart. When you're 14-0 down, this is a pretty good way to start the second half, you might think. And one thing to notice here, even from a restart, their ruck speed is really, really quick. They get into position very well. One dominant carry here ties in 3 Saracens defenders, and that's huge, just to get them on the gain line on the front foot straight away. One thing to note here, Liv McGovern, their fly half, is involved in this ruck, but something I found interesting is how well structured they were even without her there.
Yeah, for me, I think it's all set up. I think it's set up off the restart. I think everybody knows their roles. You can see these 2 players running short. It's almost like that double short line, double out the back, and then you can just see them picking off the edge here. For me, I think Gloucester's defence will be much more structured than the Saracens one, but nonetheless, Buchanan, brilliant break, turns on the afterburners. You don't see many people accelerate away from Jessica Breach, so it was awesome to see that from them.
One thing to note here, we talk about ruck speed being really quick, and that's to try and exploit the disorganisation. But when you made a line break that quick, it doesn't have to be that fast. 5 players from Saracens cut out by 2 passes here, and they're just trying to get around the corner from Exeter. As they do that fairly simple play to get to that edge, because Exeter have got so many players on feet out in the wide channels, these Saracens defenders have to mark them, have to stay alive to the threat. Kate Zachary here is able to cut back inside, and a fantastic try again right at the start of the second half to get them back into the game. So we'll move on now to have a look at the final and the head-to-head of the 2 teams. Ruck speed is the thing that stands out for them, the fastest 2 in the competition. And a note here on Exeter, this is the fastest average ruck speed in any competition, domestic or international, men's or women's, on the entire planet this season. Like, that's incredibly impressive. If you're involved in that organisation, that's quite a tip of the hat.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and I think they manage it by the dominant collisions that they get. So as soon as they're in behind, attacking ball is so much easier to win. Defenders are reloading, and to be fair, Flo Robinson at 9 has just been getting there, getting it away, getting it away. So it's been an incredibly impressive attacking display from them.
Huge from Exeter. Again, Gloucester actually not that far behind. And we'll start with Gloucester and have a look at their season stats to see what we might see in the final coming up. Now, one thing I'm just going to start over here. As we showed in their clips, Gloucester-Hartpury score a lot of their tries on the first phase, second most in the competition, and actually require the fewest average phases to get their tries. Exeter, the exact opposite of that in 10th, just as context. We'll come on to them. But Emily, you talked about this. One of Gloucester's super strengths is their defence. Make 150 tackles per game on average. They miss the fewest. Best tackle success, and also they're the second best dominant tackles in the competition. A huge plus for them.
Yeah, but for me, it's the turnovers one bit. So it suggests actually in 10th place, which is last in the league, it suggests that their focus is getting on their feet. It's numbers on their feet. They're not worried about the breakdown. They want to create that cherry and white wall to go forward and swarm the next attack. So it's quite an interesting thing for a defence that's so good, so dominant, that actually they just completely leave the breakdown.
It gives them obviously a lot of possession time themselves to then go and utilise and score their tries. One of the huge instigators of that is your good friend Mo. She's been so influential this year, hasn't she?
Oh, she's been amazing. I think, Gloucester play a way that really suits Mo, and she's got all the tricks in the book, but what she does incredibly well is the basics. So just standing and delivering those passes. She's always having a look on any penalty. You can see she's like a meerkat with her head bobbing around, just trying to see the next opportunity. And if you're a player playing with somebody like Mo, you need to be as alert as she is. And as I say, her try assist stat is unbelievable this season. She's always there or thereabouts, and she's a player that you want to play with for all of those reasons. As you can see, try assists, first in the league. That's an incredibly impressive stat to have.
And actually twice as many as anybody else. Nobody's even close to her in terms of try assists. Again, incredibly influential elsewhere. That is a huge one. And if Mo can get her hands on the ball and assist some of these tries on the weekends, that could be a huge factor. Now, we'll move on to Exeter and their season stats so far. Now, I'm going to start down here as well. They very much followed their semi-final performance, so they have a lot of possession time. They want the ball in their hands a lot. Now, they do get a lot of output from that as well because they have so much ball, but it's actually their efficiency that they're so good at.
Yeah, and they've basically got the best attack in the league. You know, they top the stats in everything pretty much. And I think for me, the red zone efficiency is the biggest one. As soon as they get an opportunity, they take it. They come away with points, whether that's 3, 5, 7. And that's so important. You think big games, ticking over that scoreboard, building a score. It's so important.
Against such a good defence as we highlighted in Gloucester's, that's going to be huge. Now for Exeter, one of their key performers, Kate Zachary, so skillful, played across 8 and 13, but solidified her place at 13 this year. I mean, just how hard is that to do?
Oh, it must be incredibly hard. I try and preach that 13 and outside centre is one of the hardest positions to play, but I think she's dispelling everything that I'm trying to tell everyone. She's been so good this season, you know, both on the ball, defensively, but the bit that impresses me the most is her turn and pace and power through contact. You know, obviously being a back row, we saw her break from the scrum so much last year, make so many metres, but she's so influential to this Exeter Chiefs team. When she's going well and going forward, they're going really well as well.
She is so skillful, so influential for this team. Second most tries scored in the league, second most metres made, top 10 for line breaks, defenders, beaten and carries. Incredibly impressive. How would you fancy going the other way, back into the back row?
Absolutely no chance.
Fair. So we've looked at the two teams here. Great stats from both of them. Attack and defence. Should be a fantastic final this weekend coming.
So there we have it. We have poured over the detail, and one thing's for sure, we're going to have a brand new champion, a brand new team lifting the Allianz Premier 15's trophy, and we cannot wait. Topsy, just a final word from you. I'm going to put you on the spot. I do want a prediction. How are you seeing this play out?
I knew you would do that. You predictions, yeah, get yourself in trouble with everyone at home, sure. Look, it's going to be a great final. You know, it's been a record-breaking season, and I think, again, in this final, we'll see another record-breaking crowd. In terms of what happens on the pitch, I think from when the final venue was announced being Kingsholm, there would have been a spark lit in that Gloucester-Hartpury team saying it's kind of written, destined that we can be there and win it at our home stadium. You know, obviously they play at the Alpers, but Kingsholm is the heart of Gloucester rugby. So if you put me on the spot and getting me in trouble, I will make them slight favourites. I think we've seen, even historically, look at the semi-finals, the playoffs as well, it's home advantage all the way. So I think on this occasion, home advantage might just get the job done. Sorry.
Well, you do talk about home advantage, but Exeter Chiefs are already organising bus loads of their fans to travel up to Kingsholm. So, I mean, they are going to be very loud in the shed, aren't they?
They'll be very loud. I think the Gloucester faithful will pour out in numbers, and I can't wait to see that. And they'll be so vocal, they'll be so loud. As Topsy says, it's an unbelievable opportunity to win a trophy like this at home. You don't get those opportunities very often at all. But I've also no doubt that Exeter will travel really well. They were super loud at their semi-final. They really pushed Exeter over the line. I think it was the difference in the end in that last 5-10 minutes of that game that really pushed them to beat Sarries at the end. So look, it could be an unreal atmosphere.
But Gloucester-Hartpury, I have to just say, you know, this could be the fairy tale ending. Should they be the ones to lift the trophy? They've already won 17 in 19 games. They've just had the most fantastic season. Could this be their year?
I think it could be. I think it already has been in many ways. You know, they obviously finishing top of the table. I don't know if anybody thought that would happen. You know, they obviously recruited incredibly well at the beginning of the season and got some fantastic players, but I think for them to finish top of the tree, I always kind of think that the team that finishes top should probably go on to win it, but I think Exeter will definitely have their say.
Not long to wait. Thank you so much, Emily and Topsy, for all your amazing insight. We cannot wait for this one. Gloucester-Hartpury up against Exeter Chiefs in the final at Kingsholm. Now, you've got no excuses because we are live on BBC Sports app and website. We're also on BBC iPlayer, BT Sport are covering the game, and we're worldwide on Premier15s.com. Also, make sure to keep up to date with all the latest on social media at Premier 15s. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the final.